Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. Good to be back in the saddle here from the Benzinga HQ here in Detroit. Got a busy show, as is usual in the last month or so. A lot of headlines overnight impacting the S&P futures. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Trump's comments on proposed tariffs to Apple. We're going to talk about how this just is a headline-driven market. We can't get away from it. We have not a lot in the way in terms of earnings and ratings, but it is just, it seems like every day there's just a flurry of, we got political comments, you got tariff comments, you got the G20 coming up in like 3 days now. So a lot of just macro things coming together in this market, making for an interesting tape. Our guest today, it is Tuesday, so we'll be joined by Nick Chahine, as we are every Tuesday. He is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Joel, tell us what happened here in the overnight session.
That's going to take quite some time here. First, after hours, Trump tweets about Apple. Down goes Apple, down go the SPOOs. And then in the middle of the night, misinterpretation of a headline, and the SPOOs go straight up to 84.25. Currently down 12.5 handles at 26.5750, just hanging out above the low of the session. My bogey on the downside here would be the intraday low from yesterday, 26.5250. If, in fact, we take that out, I'm looking for 26.26. Coming back on the upside, I would love to see this flat at the close of 26.70 for a lower risk short. Crude, the rally has fizzled a little bit, down 30 cents here at 51.33, double bottom at 50.10, 50.15 to keep an eye on. Gold up $1.30, 12.23.70. Silver up 3 cents at 14.23.5. And now you got a three handle in Bitcoin, trading up $32.50 at 36.80. Dennis, when are you buying your first Bitcoin?
No. I'll stay bearish. I was bearish all the way up, bearish all the way down. I'll just stay bearish. And there's a lot of people. My chat's filled with people saying, oh, this is going to be a little washout. It's funny how the Bitcoin bulls, they all say, yeah, we could go under 3,000, but eventually we're coming back and going to 10, 20,000. I had an argument with somebody, little argument there. I don't have
Dennis,
big arguments on Twitter, but I don't argue. Do I argue, Joel? I don't argue. Do I? Am I an argument? Spencer, we'll get the referee here. Do I argue?
No, you just talk over people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He doesn't. No one gets to argue with him
just
because
talks over.
he doesn't be quiet. So
my wife yells at me about that all the time. I'm trying to be nice here. So, anyways, last night somebody was just saying I was given the argument that I think there's a lot of overhead supply.
Oh.
I mean, this thing just can't come back, and they were telling me that all the retail is already sold. That's going to sell, and everybody else is just going to hold. But I think, loss aversion applies to crypto just as much as it applies to stocks. So I think there's a lot of people who are underwater here who refuse to sell at a loss. I think that's just mentality, human mentality, that they don't, especially somebody newer to trading, they don't like to sell at a loss. So imagine we had accumulation period on that Bitcoin around that 6,000 period for months, Joel. If you ever got back up to that 6,000, you'd have a wall of sellers, would you not?
Oh, that was a big level, and I haven't even looked at it. It's just, I wish it was as easy to short as it was to buy. I guess you could do the futures, but they're fully margined. Oh, I mean, will it ever get back to 6,000?
I don't know, but people who are saying it's going to go to 15,000, like Tom Lee by the end, or is it Tom Lee, whoever the guy's name is, anyways, it's on CNBC all the time promoting Bitcoin. How? You're never going to get through all these people. It's so much different than before. And then there's people arguing, well, it's had corrections like this before and it's come right back. But the big difference is the masses are in this time. Joel, everybody was in this thing. We know from last Thanksgiving, when they were opening up 75,000 accounts a day. The masses are all caught. The masses are all burned. Nobody was burned before. There's so much overhead supply here. I don't think it's ever getting back to 15,000. So, forget about that year-end target, 15,000. I don't think it's ever getting back there.
Did he really say
10,000. I don't know if it's ever getting back there. 6,000. I don't know if it's ever getting back there either. I mean, believe it or not, this thing looks awful. But if you think this is going back to 15 or 20,000, even within the next 6 months to a year, I think you need to read a behavioral finance book. I think loss aversion applies here like crazy. And there are so many people who are underwater, retail, non-retail, call institutional, whoever it is that's been buying this thing all the way down. They're going to be sellers on the way up. And I don't even know if you're going to go up, because it seems like every time there's definitely some people throwing in the towel here now, because it kind of feels a bit like capitulation, but it's not like we can even value it. There's no like cash flows to value. There's nothing to value here. So, it's just numbers trading. But there's a lot of people who are underwater here that I think would be willing sellers. And that's something you taught me back in the day too, Joel. Like old resistance becomes, or old support becomes new resistance. I mean, that 6,000 area would be massive resistance if it ever got back up there. So forget about 10,000, forget about 15,000. 6,000 would be a huge hurdle. I don't think you're getting back there anytime soon.
We are going to dig I'm going to write myself a note today. Jim Angel and Joe Saluzzi, who are on the show that we had just about a year ago. And Goldman threw in the towel a while ago too. And just tough. I mean, to me, the ultimate sell signal was when I was long and it was going up. It was the day it hit like 20,000 and I couldn't log into my account. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then the next time I could log into my account, I think it was back down at 15.5 or 15.6. I sold it, and then I had the mental stop at 10 on the rest of the piece. And when it was hanging out like 11.5 or 12, I said, boom, I'm out of this. And, it's after the fact here. I don't know where they're supporting this thing, but the ARBs brought this in. But we haven't bashed Bitcoin in a while, but we got a lot of news to talk about here, Dennis. And I don't know if we're on opposite sides of the market here. It's so hard just to say, okay, that 2603 low, that's the bottom. We got the Santa Claus rally, because you still have a lot of volatility, and markets usually do not have strong, sustained rallies with high volatility.
I mean, there's an argument, and I've made the argument that I think in the momos that the low might be in. But there's a good bear case too. I mean, Apple continues to defies any upward pressure at all. Gets a little rally there yesterday, looking like, okay, well, maybe the 170, and we close fairly strong, and then boom, it's right back down here again. And what is it? Trump's back, and look at the way it's trading. Holy cow. 356,000 shares already, trading like crazy. But we had a headline here, Spencer Israel. What was the headline after the bell? Trump talking about Apple.
Yeah, in discussing possible Chinese tariffs, he said that iPhones could be hit with 10% tariffs. So
he's mentioned specifically Apple product here. That's why it's trading down here. 170, if you are trying to call a bottom, and it's been difficult to do. I'm not that person trying to call the bottom. I say the trend is not your friend here, and this is the weakest of the week right now. But if you want to look, 170.26, that was yesterday's low. Absolutely needs to hold that. Starts taking that out. I've been saying I think this could eventually go to 160. It's just so out of favor. And in the recent rally, it hasn't rallied even a sniff. So this is the week of the week. Is it going to turn around eventually? I hope so. I'm a long-term investor in it. But I'll tell you, in the short term, this trend is awful.
Now, Brent said yesterday, and I think he tried to confirm it. I don't think it's actually happened yet. But Mr. Softy is catching up on Apple for the top cap rated company in the S&P 500.
Oh, it passed it.
It did?
Yeah, it passed it yesterday. And the funny thing is, it passed it just because all the other companies have fallen and Microsoft hasn't fallen. So it's not like Microsoft is going up to pass it. It just hasn't fallen. So yeah, Microsoft actually now is the most valuable company in the world. Pretty crazy.
Wait, that was only for a brief moment, I thought. Although then again, I was not really.
Well, Apple's down here again today, so I would think that brief moment continues. Right. So I saw it. At least I saw it through my Twitter headlines. I saw it multiple places, so I'm assuming it's correct. Twitter doesn't lie.
All right. I think Brent's gonna hop on with us for a second. I don't really know what he's about to say. Hey, Brenty.
I just want to say hi. The Brentster.
I just want to say how you doing, Dennis.
What's going on?
Not too much.
Do you have confirmation? Is Microsoft the most valuable company in the world?
I saw a bunch of people. I saw a Business Insider, saw Bloomberg reporting that yesterday. Maybe I had looked at the time when it was not anymore, but after I saw those reports, I was like, I got to do this math real quick. I went and found the outstanding share count from both Microsoft and Apple's last income statements on not from their 10Q, but from their last quarterly report, and I could not confirm what other sources had been reporting.
But also, Apple is continuously buying back stock, so that share count is going to go. That's been going down for 6 months.
Well, it should show me in the last income
Right,
statement.
you're right.
But that's a very good point, Spence.
Yeah. Okay.
Texas Linda says it was on CNBC this morning too, as Microsoft the most valuable company.
Wow.
So
Yep.
I saw multiple places too. So I'm assuming it's
All right.
All right,
Cool.
man. Let's see how long that lasts here. Thank you, bringing in Brentster from the news desk.
It's a good point though. Like the resilience in Microsoft has been incredible. You have a tech wreck in everything. This stock will not go down. Call it the honey badger of the tech stocks. But what stock is, what tech stock is sitting there within, 7-8% of its all-time high? Is there any other one?
No.
Is there any other of the big guns? Like Facebook, we're looking at a stock that's off like 30 or 40% from the
30 or
highs.
40%.
We know Nvidia is now off over 50% from the highs, and Amazon off significantly from the highs. You do the math, 400 on 2,000, you're 25%. Apple obviously now down 25% or so from the highs. Just I'm ballparking it. But Microsoft here, you're sitting up there, and it's resilient. You got to give it the resilience. I don't know why, but it's resilient. Full disclosure, I do have a short position on overnight Microsoft, just overnight though.
Boy, oh boy, I don't know. I mean, they're and they're not getting hit out of any of the fallout on this gaming either, right? Don't they?
Yeah, like you would think, because and they've got the big gaming, too, and we know EA Sports has been crushed, Activision Blizzard's been crushed, Take-Two not hit quite as bad, but it was hit. It's come back a little bit there, but I mean, so it's not getting hit for that reason. I don't know. I have no idea why it's this resilient. Somebody wants to own it.
Yep. All right. Real quick here before we go on Tesla here, John_Smith, can we talk about X and NUE? And I don't see any major news in this. I know X is these tariffs are not helping them out at all. We got some news on X. It's trading down 90 cents.
I haven't
It might
seen
just be
any
tariff
this
related.
morning. Yeah, I think it is just tariff related this morning.
More spooks about tariffs. Anyways, it hasn't helped them. We know that he was talking about imposing, and it never helped them at all. The stock chart here is not pretty at all either. We did get down back in April 2017. We got down to $18.55. We're now $24. We're falling through, making a new low on the move. I always say when a stock makes a new low, you gotta go. This 24.80 looks like it's going to be breached here today. If it does get breached in the regular session, I want no part of it then. That would throw the double bottom out the window, and I could eventually be $20. Anyway, I own this one in my invest portfolio. I still believe it is best of breed, although its beta is a lot lower and you don't make as much money in this one, but it's got a little dividend, 2.56. I've had this stock for like a decade. I think I was in at $45, so it really hasn't been a great performer. I'm up 15 points in basically 10 years, so it hasn't been a great one, but it's a lot safer than a stock like X. I'll put it that way. It's a safer way to play steel.
Did you try and wiggle out of this? Didn't you have some GTC orders?
I was gonna at 70 a couple times. I know got up there multiple times. I really wanted to sell it, and I did have an order out there once, and I was like, and it got back up there so many times I thought eventually I was gonna take it out, and never did. So resistance remains resistance until it is broken. Should have sold in the 69 handle.
Let's see.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Should have sold everything. I should have liquidated all my portfolio. Why didn't you tell me we were going to go through this, Joel? End of September, could have liquidated the whole thing, went to cash, and been like just sitting back and saying, "Come to Papa."
You would have been trying to buy the dip. We are taking.
Oh yeah, I would have been buying way sooner. I'd been nervous to be in all cash.
We're taking out yesterday's low here. Your 2-day low is down to 58.23, currently trading at 59 even. So look at your 2-day low, and then you got a little old gap to fill there down to 58.15. So lower 58s here. The only problem underneath that, not a whole lot, had 2 big up days. So there's a look at your steel stocks, and not looking good. And for X, man, I wish I kind of got lazy with my short that it had around 40. I kind of forgot about it, but there's support. $20 in X. And
Spencer, we do have to talk about SAVE. This is an incredible move here for Spirit Airlines, and they obviously gave some guidance, some of their numbers. Spencer, give us the details here. This is one of the biggest moves I've ever seen in Spirit Airlines.
Yep. After the bell yesterday, they in an 8K, they said they raised their Q4 TRASM guidance from a 6% year-over-year gain to 11% year-over-year gain. The CASM guidance was also up as well, or was raised as well. So, and then that's a metric that measures basically efficiency of seat capacity compared to bookings, and if you follow the airlines at all, it's a well-known metric. But they raised the guidance on that, and as you can see the chart there, huge boost.
This is a $57. This kissed 60 last night. Very quickly kissed 60. I think that's overdone. And I'll tell you, if it gets up near 60 there, I might even try from the short side. 60.28 was your high back in May of 2017. The stock was in the gutter. I had it once in my longer term portfolio. I took a flyer on it from like 35 to 45. Obviously, it's higher than that now. I don't know. I do see, oil's coming down. That's obviously good for airlines. We've talked about this before. This is a big move here, though, and I think the way this market has played out is it's been the play to sell into these big up moves. So I'm definitely not chasing it. And if I was long it, I'd probably be ringing the register, especially if it got up near that 60. That's just my thoughts.
57 is my area of interest for today, even though you did get an after hours print up to 60
Almost
even.
60 even, wasn't it?
Yeah, right on the kisser. If you would have been at 59.99,
you probably would. The high would have probably been 59.98 then.
Yeah.
That's the way that rolls.
But I was just looking.
Penny jumping algo after hours. It sits in front of me all the time.
Back in June of 2016, you had a 56.89 high. So, man, it's going to, I don't know, above 57. Yeah, things are open to 60. But if this thing's not holding 57 at that, after your first bracket here, you could see some possible downside. I have absolutely nowhere to tell you where support would be in this thing. In order to fill the gap, you got to get in the lower 52. So it's going to be volatile. 57 is my swing number there in SAV, Spirit Airlines.
Not giving much of a lift to the other airlines here. I'm not sure if that's going to happen here or not. They're not trading down. You can look at Delta, and Delta's trading slightly higher. It was slightly higher in the premium. It's bid up 56.85. UAL is bid up slightly at 92. So it looks like they're going to be a little bit of a sympathy move here, but it's not a flying sympathy move, no pun intended. They're up a bit, the other airlines. So Love, UAL, Delta, JetBlue was trading up a little bit last night. So
what are the reasons for that? Like
AAL.
What did they say? Like all of a sudden they have the greatest quarter and everyone's flying Spirit with the little seats.
Well, it's just capacity numbers, right?
It's available seat miles. So basically measures how the number of flights, number of seats, number of basically their capacity to book passengers.
Okay.
I don't know if everyone's flying Spirit yesterday. I can tell you from experience yesterday that the Delta terminal was jam-packed at Newark Airport, one of the busiest airports in the country. But I feel like I just survived, a great odyssey. Whenever, holiday travel, which I just did, I feel like I just survived an odyssey. So I'm back home, and I don't want to talk airlines. That's all I'm saying.
All right, let's move away from the airlines.
Tesla.
We can talk.
Tesla.
There's not a lot of earnings to talk about, but there is other news here. And let's go to Tesla here because this had a big headline here overnight as well.
Yeah, but according to China's Passenger Car Association, they said that Tesla's China sales fell 70% in October. Thank you, tariffs for that one is what they blamed.
How many cars do they sell over there? Is there a lot of cars selling over in China?
Oh, boy.
I'm just curious, because you see the stock getting, hit for 2% here today. I wonder if it's just more market effects, a lot of it as well. Just because I know they had huge sales over in China anyways.
According to the association,
if you only sell 10 cars and it's down 70%, that means you're now only selling 3. Just a joke.
Well, you're not that far off. According to the association, it said Tesla sold 211 cars in October in China.
All right. So we're talking very minimal impact here. So it's getting hit and it's down 7 points, but it's not like this is a big market for them, at least not yet. So, I mean, you're talking about, oh, they sold 100 less cars. This is almost a non-event headline, at least in my opinion. So it's trading down here. I don't know what to say, because this is one that's held up really well here too, and there is some air below, but I think I'm more of a buy the dipper on Tesla as opposed to sell the rip. I'm probably not doing anything, but if you're looking at, you got to make a play here, make a call, I'd buy the dip.
I'll tell you, I'm just going to give you one number here, 325. Friday's low, 25.55. Yesterday's low, 25 even. We're still 14 sticks above that. But I'll tell you right there, if you take out this three.
What's the low of the move tonight or overnight?
How
low do we get?
It's just trickled down. Right
Still
here,
trickling.
337.79.
Okay, we're not far out the lows.
Yeah, but like $12 off the two. You know, we're right at the lows of the session, so someone is in here buying. But man, you just that 3.25. I just tell you, just underneath that, keep an eye on that. You get a double bottom, you take that out. I say 300 will be the next print there. I'll just big air underneath. And if you want to figure an area of control, let's see, we went to 367. What's that? That's a 42-point move, 21. 346. What was the high from yesterday? Yep, the high and the close from yesterday is 46.22 and 46 even. That's your 50% retracement. So, man, good numbers here in Tesla. We bust above that 346, challenge 360. We don't. I look us to go and challenge that 3.25. And if it takes out 3.25, man, this thing could really could be in for some rough sledding. Sploos, speaking of rough sledding, Sploos are $1.50 off the low of the session, 55.25, so no bounce yet. So we got the
we had some bounces overnight. It was choppy overnight. We had that one headline. I don't think we mentioned this on the show yet. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, we actually went positive. So we were down all after hours. We were down, for the majority, and then a headline broke. What was that? What was that headline?
That Trump and Xi had agreed to meet, but it was actually
interpreted
that there was a deal or something.
No, yeah, it's not a deal. It was a phone. It's a like they agreed to have a phone call, I think is what the headline was, and I think they interpreted it as they had. Because the first headline said they had reached a mutually beneficial agreement, and that agreement was that they would.
That's a bad headline.
Talk on the phone,
and we rallied all the way up, and we were trading up on that, which isn't surprising. I mean, if I would have read that headline, I was a news algo, I probably would have did the same thing. I probably would have been buying the hell out of it too. And then it's like, oh, bad headline. I guess you got to really watch. If you're feeding your news algos there, make sure your headlines are accurate.
Yeah, for sure. Do we have any earnings to cover?
There's very little from the earnings parade. We're going to get CRM after the bell, though.
We had Hibbett Sports.
GWPH, I believe, as well.
We had Hibbett Sports.
You had like Hibbett Sports. Yeah. Hibbett.
I
Doesn't want to do Hibbett.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's my best frog interpretation.
Q3. Q3 adjusted EPS 14 cents versus 16 cents, sales of $216 versus $217 million. So slight misses on both. As far as the fiscal year EPS guidance, that is in line. They cut their share buyback guidance. That's interesting. You don't see that every day, but nothing too good nor too bad from this report.
Have you ever been in one of the? What is this like? Got its own like stores like called Hibbett Sports? Because I don't think I've ever been in one.
Yeah. You never.
Where are they? Is there one in Detroit?
I don't think so.
I've never been in one of these stores before. I've been in lots of Dick's Sporting Goods, but Hibbett Sports I've never been to.
I think they're mostly in the South.
That was my grandfather started that.
I think they're mostly in the South.
No, he
didn't. Are they in the South? They didn't like that report. You're quite a bit off the lows of the session. The pre-market session took us down. Very, very light volume here. It's 16 even. That's your pre-market low. The rebound off that is 1750. I'll go to yesterday's range. Boom. You fill the gap at 1717. Street kind of leaning the wrong way on this one. It closed near its high for the session at 1796, close 18 even. I expect that to be resistance. And under 17, that bogus print at 16. I'd look at your 4-day low at 16.38 here in Hibbett Sports. And we also Cracker Barrel had earnings.
New all-time high.
Yeah.
How many stocks are hitting new all-time highs? Not a lot.
All right.
Cracker Barrel. Look at this.
I
CBRL.
will give you those numbers. $1.96 on the Q1 EPS versus $1.90 estimate. Sales of $733 versus $717 million. So they beat on both for the EPS and sales for the Q1. They reaffirmed their fiscal year sales guidance. EPS guidance came in line as well. Wow.
Everybody likes eating those, going there and sitting by the nice warm fireplace, playing that little peg game there that they have,
Golf
and
teams.
eating their grits.
Yep, and their muffin. Big move. I'll just give you your reaction high was 183.80. We backed off to 181. Anything above 176.26, you're selling the all-time high. So that's your support. That's $6 away. On the
I'm going to call you out on that, Joel. It got up to 179.12 back earlier this year.
It
So
did.
we're still all-time high. Yeah, go look at the weeklies.
Oh, it did. I see it at the beginning of the year.
So,
Yep.
so we'll call it 180. I'd say, anything above 180, you're at all-time highs. I don't like being short stocks making new all-time highs, but holy cow, it's impressive in this market, I'll tell you.
Wait. What month do you have it going to 179.12?
179.12 in February, the week of February 2nd, 2018 on my weeklies.
I mean, I don't want to argue with you, but I got 175.37 is the high there.
As we're talking, it's now 178, so maybe all this is off the board.
I don't know.
Anyways,
If you have a target,
I'd be scared to
take it.
buy a stock at an all-time high in this. Normally, I don't mind buying stocks at all-time highs, but in this tape, I don't know if I'm buying stocks at all-time highs. Too nervous.
Yeah, Spoos sinking here near the lows of the pre-market session. 52.50 was your intraday low from yesterday. Some reports tonight. You want to take a look at some stocks that are reporting tonight?
Well, before we do that, let's just look at the after-hours chart from UTX because
there's
some interesting
Wildness.
interesting trading there after they announced they were splitting into 3 different companies, which had been encouraged, to put it nicely, by several. Ackman, I think, was involved in that. I think so was Dan Loeb. They had been encouraging UTX.
Why?
Once the merger
What do they know?
once the merger with Rockwell Collins closed, which it
Trying to unlock value. Joel.
which it now has, so they're going to split up into what were the units now? The aerospace, elevator, escalator, and carrier space. And look at that chart. There we go.
So this has been, talked about for a while, and it's actually was very surprising to me last night that this trade up as much as it did on this news, because this is not new news. It's not like, out of the blue here. They've been talking about this. Obviously,
Yes,
like you
they
said, the
have.
activists were pushing for this. So I guess they officially announced it last night, and the stock pops up like 132. On a day when the S&Ps were down 15 handles after hours, UTX decides to go up that much. So anybody who's buying it up there is getting punished for that this morning because it's now trading in the red. And I think rightfully so, because this was already known.
You know who makes who's going to make money on this and who it's good for? It's good for the attorneys and the accountants, because you got 3 different companies now with legal fees and accounting fees. So I don't know. I mean, you could look at this. I see some very good support at this at 124.79, a double bottom there, 124.66, 124.79. So that'd be a target on the downside if you're looking for more red in the issue. And 127.98, that's a buck away from the close. So I look at that as resistance here. But I mean, I don't follow the company close enough. I don't know how this is, going to add so much. It's still the same company. It's just split in 3 pieces. So I don't know.
COL did go off the board last night. Obviously, they were taking over Rockwell Collins. I actually traded COL on this news last night, and I was like, I don't have much time with this one. I bought the COL last night because UTX started trading up. So then I was like, I'll buy COL because it's going off the board, and it's basically like buying UTX. So people were buying COL and selling UTX against it. I know there's still some traders at Bright that probably still have that position,
Did you get
probably
out of
kicking,
it?
but the COL will become UTX, so
Wait.
it would naturally cover your shorts.
Wait, so what time did COL go off the board? If you were trading it last
No, it
night.
would be 8 o'clock last night, but
Oh, okay.
so it's going off at the end. So COL is now no longer. So you may have to hold a day or two through reorg until they turn your COL shares into UTX, which is somewhat annoying. But for the most part, if you were like, putting on the spread last night, short UTX against a long COL, it's going to naturally cover it as long as you have your ratios right. So I didn't follow closely enough to know the ratios. I just knew COL was going up. So I actually sold my COL last night too. So I got some just above scratch, and then I was able to sell it up. And I think it was 142 handle was trading up to last night.
You got out of it. I pull up the chart and it's like incorrect symbol. So
yeah, COL. It's gone. It's officially now UTX.
all right. Let's take a look.
Scrolling over here, let's look at imbalances quickly. General Motors here, 359,000 to sell. That is significant here. I don't know if that's ground zero for the tariffs, but obviously Trump not happy with GM from commentary even yesterday. They shrugged it off. General Motors had a great move yesterday, going from 36 all the way up to 38.75 before peeling back. It's down here this morning. I think you got support down there at 36 handle. I got a small day trading position on in GM, but very small.
Big old candle yesterday, so you want to see it regain that close at 37.65. Some work to do if we get above $38 because you're quite a bit off the high at 38.75 and 36 yesterday's low. Good support. The only thing is if you take that out, look for 35. Trio lows right around the 35 even area.
Any other imbalances besides the GM one?
GE 186,000 to sell. The eternal GE sell imbalance is still alive. GE made new lows on the move yesterday. Rallies just keep getting met with sellers. I mean, you had that nice rally from $8 to $9 back on the 13th. Took 2 days to give it back. The stock is just in the gutter. Inch's $5 potential price target is looking more and more like a possibility, and in my opinion, maybe even a probability.
New low of the move yesterday, 726. You bounced up the close at 758. So you avoided a multi-year closing low at 757 was on Friday, 758 yesterday. So there's your area of resistance, and 726 was what is that, like 10-year low, or when did go back in the financial crisis? But this one,
it got down to, I think, like $3, didn't it? Didn't it get down like $3 in the financial crisis?
Yeah, I mean, is there going to be any chance for this to rally here with year-end tax selling? I mean, if this has got to be,
you mean after? Well, it could go down with year-end tax selling as people book it, but you mean in January effect, like it gets the lift afterwards? Maybe it'd be a prime candidate for getting the lift maybe after the fact, but I think there's a lot of people sitting on losses. I was sitting on some. I booked all those losses back at 17 and 14. Glad I did. It's now 7.
Let's see. 688 was your low in March of 2009. So only 50 cents away from that off the low. You want to dial Nick up here?
Yep, I'm doing
that.
Bringing him in right now. Nick Chahine. He writes, create income with option spreads. Hey, Nick, how's it going this morning?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. How was your holiday?
It was pretty good. It was local. I didn't have any driving to do. Unlike you, I heard somebody on your show was complaining about traveling. I think it was you. So,
it was most definitely me. I can promise you that it was me. Yeah. Okay, good. Glad you had a relaxing weekend there. And what's going on here this morning for you? Anything top of mind?
No, it's just yesterday I was I don't like when we rip too fast, and yesterday's bounce was getting a little bit out of hand, and then we get the prick in the news afterwards. The Wall Street Journal rehash of the same headline. Oh, I'm going to put the 260 billion. Those are the same 260 billion he put in September. So it's just a rehash of the news. But the good part about it is that we do have a tight range going into an event, so it is a binary event. And this was just a reminder that none of the risks that were here before the bounce are gone. So they're still here. We're still binary into a G20 meeting because of the China-US tariff war. and we're still binary into this week's Fed chair to confirm what his vice chair said last week, which is that indeed they are data dependent, even though he specifically hasn't mentioned it.
So what about the prospects for the Santa Claus rally here? Are they dwindling? I mean, I guess if we're still above that October low, there's a possibility here. But man, it just seems here we are at the end of November, and if Santa Claus is gonna, take us back up, it's better start happening soon.
So here's my opinion about the whole thing as far as generalizing a statement like this. I agree with you that, the rally that everybody expects is not. I go at one level at a time.
Sure.
You guys do that, but it's hard to say it in words. So I just posted a chart showing a short term, that's like a 4-hour chart. It shows a tight range for the 4 hours that had just passed and the lines from that. Breaching either of those lines carries to the next line. So on the upside, will carry to about 2740, 2734, something like that, a point of control there, which was the ledge from which we felt at this level. So that would be resistance. So if I was long into that, this is where I'd lighten up and see what they want to do next. Conversely, the downside is in the 2400s. I think I said that before.
Yeah.
If you look at longer standpoints, you have inverse head and shoulders, inverse cup and not inverse head and shoulders, or inverse cup and handles, which are bearish patterns in almost everything you look at. So we are dangerously bouncing on a level that we need to hold. And if that level fails, it's a trap door down to the 2400s, which is still not the end of the world. But I take it one level at a time. I want to say that the fundamentals are still strong. Apple, Google, even NVIDIA. What's the PE on NVIDIA? 20 now. So it's cheaper than Google, but it's still more expensive than its rivals. It used to be way up in the 50s, I think. So the dips are good. It just resets the fundamentals. But for now, the fundamentals are hostage to the headlines.
All right, RCA, thoughts on Reed Hastings' sale of Netflix stock? They say it's half his position. I'm sure he still has a lot in there. I think someone said, Spinner says he still had his ton in his trust, and that's where the majority of his holdings are here. Did you take cues, from insider sales like that? You'd like to just stick with your charts. This chart is not looking good here in Netflix.
No, the chart says lower, even in the 180s, 190s. Not saying it's going there. I'm saying the risk is there. There is a support somewhere around 242, but there's a gap down to 228. Wow. So I would not be long Netflix here. If I'm expecting a bounce in the market in general, let's put it this way. I don't think Netflix is going to rally without the market. So why go Netflix long rather than go to market long and eliminate the Reed Hastings headline risk? As far as chasing a headline like this, I would be more eager to chase upside than downside. So if somebody's buying with two fists, that's a better bet. But him selling a little bit is okay. Him selling half is not, to me. They usually say, what is it? Win, I think, was, everybody bought when he bought his own shares. It just says something that, hey, I believe in this company and here's where I put my value. But to sell it at these levels, I don't know where he sold, but to sell it down here is scary. It is a very sharp descending wedge. So if you believe in a wedge that's going to break up, yes, but I would rather bet on the technicals that are already unfolding than what could unfold.
Okay, let's just talk about oil here a little bit. And Nick, I know you were bearish on the way up here, and what a drop here. I mean, you stopped at $50, two daily lows, 50.10, 50.15. You attempted to try a swing long yet here in crude oil or USO.
I would not. I did try the USO. It failed. Luckily, it was just small money on an ETF. I'm going to share a messy chart, but the gist of it is what I think is I'm going to say CL, which is crude chart, and it's just a weekly 5-year. It's hard to read except for the general statement is that it's back to where it was, the neckline from which it broke out, and where everybody said, okay, it's going back to 80 or whatever. And I kept saying it should be in the mid 50s, if not low 50s, but rhetoric is bringing it up there. And I said anything above that is bad for OPEC's market share. Anything too far below that is bad for OPEC's pocketbook. So OPEC will start defending it once it dips into their profitability. But now they gain market share back because they can produce cheaper oil than most of the rest of the world. So I'm not surprised it's down here, bouncing. I don't want to put money in the hands of rhetoric. So I don't know more about oil than anybody else. So if anything, I would just use ETFs and small money to try to catch a swing high. If you can trade the futures with the crude itself, I mean, it's a moneymaker for sure, but it's also so violent that you better know what you're doing.
Nick, quick question from the chat here. What do the blue and orange bars on the right side of the chart mean?
That's volume. That's if I was to keep one thing on my charts, if they told me you can't use any lines, I can eyeball the lines, but I need to know what happened where. And the fatter the volume is where market has traded most often.
And
Nick, how do you approach this? Let's just go back to your strategies. And we know you're big on writing puts. And obviously there's a lot of premium to be had here in this market right now with volatility spiked up. How are you trading differently than you normally trade in this market environment?
I don't have conviction. So makes writing puts very difficult. So I'm stuck trying to trade momentum. So when I thought NVIDIA was falling, had fallen enough, I sold put spread instead of a put, and I got rewarded for it. It's 50% of max gains already, so I can take it off the books right now and just call it a day. And I have to adjust. So if I have a sold put naked, I protect it with sacrifice puts, meaning I do buy insurance and I don't worry about losing the money. I've heard comments from people that say, okay, I lost half my protection on the put. Well, okay, so I paid for my house insurance or health insurance and I didn't get sick, or I didn't, my house didn't burn down. So I guess I lost half my money on the insurance halfway through the month. I don't think about it that way. If I don't have that insurance, I wouldn't have that trade open. So the insurance is doing its job, even if it's dying on the vine.
So what other stocks besides NVIDIA, like, and you say you don't have conviction, is it just in the tech momos, or are you looking at other opportunities where you do have conviction, or you don't have conviction in anything right now?
I'm looking at everything, and I'll tell you, my two biggest wins last week were in Billy and something else like that. Something that I don't even know what the company is called, some Chinese company that reported, and I bet long on both, and they both spiked 20% on the next day.
But you're still doing the spreads. You're not flat out just writing naked puts.
No, that was no writing puts on that bad boy, because I don't know anything about it. I don't want to own it. So I just made a directional bet and bought calls into earnings.
Okay.
They were huge hits. And as far as names, yesterday I did try to catch the Apple, and it was working great for a minute. And then the next minute, the headline came out and says iPhones. I was like, are you kidding me? Luckily, I sold a calendar, so I can get out of it today with minimal damage. I mean, I bought a calendar. January. So it's going to be a muted response in my pocketbook, but it's, what do you call that? It just puts a sour taste in your mouth. Here you go. You have a good setup I had a good visibility on it, and I was trying, okay, maybe I can dip my toe into the water for the next couple of days. I didn't expect the headline to come out so soon before the event. So I thought I had another day or two to play that. As far as the S&P, I did a few iron condors that were tighter than usual that I don't usually like to do, but they were upward biased. So if I did 10 contracts I do 2 to 1. So it's with this closer to a interim bottom, it's easier to do them that way. This way you can withstand some rallies like yesterday had. Other than that, you have to adjust to the headline. So I don't put big money at risk new. And the one I have, I protect, because it is a binary event. And the definition of binary, it's a 50-50, which is Vegas. You go to Vegas and you put it on black or white or even or odd on the roulette table. Those are the same odds. I mean, who wants to invest like that?
What about Spice? What about Twilio? This was a stock that we had some nice debates on. It rallied as you predicted and then came down, filled the gap here, now coming back up. Looks like a little bit of a wall here in Twilio. Give us your thoughts on TWLO.
Okay, so if you played the bounce, I would not chase it up here. because it would be like Netflix, same scenario. If I don't know why Twilio, if it doesn't have an event, would rally from here all by itself. So if it is going to rally with the market, I'd rather risk my money on something that has less froth in it. There are 2-3 giant candles on the short term and a little gap in there. So why go long Twilio? I don't know the fundamentals. So if somebody knows that has a reason, yes, I would be more willing to chase 97.50 plus higher than to buy it here, because 89, I don't know what it's doing this morning. Almost 90, let's call it 89.90.
Yeah, that looks like a.
So that was a fail level of late, that big red candle, not too long ago, on the 19th, I think. So here we are back at it. I would rather see them go over it before I start chasing it here. If I'm long it, I probably stay long it, maybe trim, maybe spread. If I'm long naked calls, if I'm not long it, I would wait out a few candles, see what's going on. I don't know where it's at this morning.
All right, so I know you wanted to sit out Tesla after the 13 Fs here, and no huge disclosures. Been moving pretty good on the news here, traded down 531 overall. In this market, I think this has held up well during during the volatility. Kind of in the middle of no man's land here, but give us your technical take on Tesla Inc.
Tesla surprised me strength-wise. I did unload the calls. I stayed short some puts, but they're at 195 level, so I'm happy sitting on those. They're very profitable, and it's house money already. So I'm happy sitting at the sold puts, seeing it battle these headlines. Like you guys said, when I read down X%, whatever it was, I was like, if I remember correctly, they sold like 3 cars there. So it's not a big deal. Percentage-wise, it sounds impressive, but you guys nailed it on the head by saying it's not a big deal to the whole company. What is a big deal is what he said yesterday in some interview this weekend, that they were, days away from being a dead company. That is not comforting. I don't know if he meant it or he was just blowing smoke.
That was a ridiculous thing to say.
I can't believe the stock didn't get cut in half on him saying that.
That's scary. That's a scary comment.
Because he was adamant that it was a healthy company, which tells me he's a liar. So
100%.
If I'm an investor, I would never give him a penny after what he said. So don't know the particulars about it. Didn't watch the show. I'm just reading the headline like I probably shouldn't and generalize. But I did lighten up on the sold put a little bit, but I'm still long it that way. However, if the markets bounce, Tesla can be over 400 pretty quickly if they can beat that one high candle of late, which is 367, I think. Technically, that would set up nice. It's actually a zone that probably starts at 353 to 367. It's not a hard line in the sand to me. But if I'm long it into that print, I would stay long it. And if I'm not, I'd probably nibble long just above that.
Nick, just a couple quick ones before I let you go. What is the name of the on your trading view charts? What is the name of the volume indicator that you're using? And also, how can people find you on TradingView?
Okay, I don't publish anything on TradingView.
Okay,
it seems noisy. I can never find anything that I could use. But I'm on Twitter, or you can join me, privately. Send me an email. We'll get in touch. I'll tell you how to hook up with me a few other ways. As far as the TradingView, this I believe is called volume. It's a volume profile chart. It's available on every chart software out there. The one that I use in there is a volume profile variable range. So it adjusts with me changing the time frame on my chart. So I'm not committed to a daily or so whatever time frame I'm looking at, it shows me what's on my screen.
All right. You can find Nick by going to Twitter at RacerNick or Create Income with Option Spreads, which is
actually the best place to find me is on email. Sellspreads@gmail.
Sellspreads@gmail.com. There we go.
Yeah.
Nick Chahine, as always, thanks a lot for your insights, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Nick.
Looking forward to it. Good luck, guys and gals.
Alrighty.
All right, S&P's trying to get off the mat here, down 1150 at 2658.50, just hanging here above the pre-market low. Yesterday's intraday low, 2652.50 here. Financials, someone mentioned here, showing a little bit of weakness here.
Not much.
No.
I'd say they're almost showing strength. I disagree, because you've got the S&P's down 0.57, Bank of America only down 0.25%, Citigroup only trading down 0.44%. XLF here is only down 0.3. They're down less than the market is overall. So I would actually argue that the financials are showing some relative strength here this morning.
All right, I stand.
You know what I'm arguing? When I look under this hood, I'm struggling to really find stocks that are getting the heck beat out of them. Besides Apple, and Apple's come back off the lows, I don't see anything really down that much. I think they're going to buy this dip.
Yeah.
So just my thoughts here, but you know, we like this exercise. We've been doing it fairly regularly, looking under the hood. And you start looking under the hood of the major S&P components here. Let's do that, Joel, because you know we're down 15 handles here. But let's just go, you know, S&P components and check them out. So top components here, Joel, you know those.
Yeah, we mentioned Apple, but that had the news. Microsoft is only trading down 0.11.
Which is nothing. Yeah. Microsoft is unbelievably resilient.
Flat. Amazon is going with the market. Google is a little bit.
But only down 0.44. It's down less than the market and has a higher beta.
Okay.
So that's good news for the market. Berkshire's only down 0.39.
Right. And
Johnson & Johnson's defensive. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually goes up. So, you know, and it's trading just flat here right now. No real market in it. JP Morgan, we already talked about. Exxon Mobil, with oil isn't trading down too much. It's only down, you know, a little bit here this morning.
Right.
Google's holding up fairly well. What is really beat up besides Apple? I don't see much.
Well, you got
UNH is trading higher on their guidance.
Yeah, you want to talk UNH a little bit here?
Yeah, it's light volume. Spencer, there was a headline.
Yes, there was. They came out with guidance last night. They actually reaffirmed their previously issued EPS guidance, so nothing really new, but it is in line with estimates. Sales guidance also in line with estimates, so just reaffirming guidance for UNH.
Stock trading up a couple bucks in the pre-market. There's not much market here. It's 2.6. There's an odd lot of 266.14, but really the best bid in the book is 264.77, which is way down. Best offer is 268.53. So it's very wide. It's 4 points wide, but it is trading up. So at least in the pre-market here, we don't know where it's going to go. I can go look at imbalance here, get a better feel. UNH does have a small sell imbalance, so I don't know if it's going to go up that much. We'll have to see what does in this guidance. But just when I look under the hood here overall, Joel, I'm just not seeing that many stocks getting beat up here this morning.
68.30 was yesterday's high. We'd need to take that out, and then really not seeing much until you get closer to 272. That would be your major resistance. Your 5 and 6 day highs flanking 272 if we really go into a rally mode here. Let's see, we're getting some stocks in the chat. Someone's looking for a gap fill here in Z Group. I believe that's Zillow. Well, you started to sneak into that earnings gap yesterday, but they got the door slammed right at 33, even just under that. 32.96 was your high yesterday. 33 even starts to open up the gap here to 40.43 and been high, you know, been up in the last 4 sessions in a row, but closing above 33 for me would give a little bit more confirmation that get back in to fill that gap as well.
I mean, that's just you know, it's starting to turn it around here, but the trend is still not your friend here. So I don't know if I'm chasing it. The thing was $26. You look at this thing, $26 4 trading sessions ago. It's been a pretty wicked rally here. 32 could it continue? Sure, the market continues. It could get into that gap and it could go, but you're not buying it on the cheap as much as you were 4 days ago when the thing's up 20% in 4 days.
Yeah, you have a lot of just short-term buyers in there that, hey, they don't care if it goes back to 40. They're ringing the bell, they're ringing the register here at 33. Do we have some bad news out of Bristol Myers this morning? I see it.
Yeah, well, they miss another. Don't they always miss their trials? Let's be honest here. Every time we get a Bristol Myers headline, it's a missed trial. Did they miss another trial?
Well, they had something yesterday after the bell.
That's when it got hit.
Yes, Checkmate 451. That's the name of the study. Did not meet its primary endpoint.
It's always did not meet primary endpoint with Bristol Myers. Is it not, Joel? Is it like Groundhog Day around here? But it seems like they always miss or did not meet their primary endpoints.
Maybe let's see here. You're getting beat up here, and you're right on the lows of the pre-market session, 50.65. You're only trading 50.85. I don't know. Something's tough. 50.60 was your initial spike down. Maybe hold out for $50 in this one. I see a 50-50 low, 50-38 low. So you do have some support all the way down to 50 on this one. See if it can manage a rebound to fill the gap from yesterday. You need to get back up to 52.35. The S&Ps are now back above 26.60 by one tick here. So a little bit of the buy the dippers have coming up here. Get the SPUs 5 points off the lows of the pre-market session.
Let's do real quick. Someone mentioned this in the chat, and we were going to bring it up anyway. It was the number of these stocks that were added to the S&P 500 index yesterday. So there's 3 stocks added, 3 stocks taken out. Obviously, Aetna and Rockwell Collins taken out because they're no longer on the board. Stericycle also removed from the index. In their stead, we are getting Lamb Weston Holdings, ticker LW, Maxim Integrated Products, and Diamondback Energy. Those are the 3 stocks that added to the S&P 500 index. And obviously that has trickle-down effects to the mid-cap and small-cap indices. But Lamb, Weston, Maxim Integrated Products, and Diamondback Energy are your 3 being added to the SPY here, or SPX.
I mean, sometimes these things go down when they're added. Sometimes they go up, and here you got 3 getting added, and 1's down and 2 are up. So it's a matter of, I think, what index they're coming from and whether they got to buy or sell the net amount of shares when that's coming in. So if you're an index arbor, you probably know all that stuff. Like obviously I'm going in and out of the indexes there. So I don't follow any of these stocks closely enough to know those ratios or how many shares are going to have to be bought or sold. But I'm assuming that the index arbors who are trading these things after the bell are probably right.
Okay. 8:57. Was there anything we missed in either of our chats? Probably, but there's a lot that gets thrown out.
2 minutes left. Just thoughts here. I'm going to say it again. I think they're going to buy this rally. So we're trading down here. I'm net neutral right now. I'm actually probably going to try to lean to get long here off the open, just as day trades here. But we had a good move up yesterday. You're getting a pullback here on a headline. The Trump, maybe a meeting, maybe not. Maybe we're going to impose some more tariffs. We've heard this story before. It's nothing that's frightening, at least in my mind. And I think that the market might eventually shrug this off, and I wouldn't be surprised if we go green. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. I'll just stick with staying above that intraday low from yesterday, 52.50. Your pre-market low is up 55.25. Nice. 27.7, 26.70. That happens to be mid-range on the session, and that also is your closing price. So, a quick rally up there this morning. I expect that to be resistance, but so far, trying to get off the mat here. And Dennis, you mentioned some of the imbalances and see if they're going to add some pressure to the market, but I know, kind of in the middle of no man's land here. I wish I could agree with you on the rally here, but just not feeling it. So we'll just have to see how the stocks react after the open.
We got a bet. We got a lunch bet.
Lunch bet? Okay.
Potential.
What do you want?
I say all we have to do is go just touch green. Just touch green. I'll bet you a lunch that we touch green sometime today. So SPY I'm going with because I don't buy S&P futures quotes. 267.50. Okay. We got to touch it. Okay. That's a pretty good bet for you.
I almost should
take one odds on that because we're 15 points in the hole.
Okay, I'll do it. I think that the worst I could be would be even on lunches because you owe me 1. So
no, have I lost? No. The steak. Well, maybe on lunches. The steak dinners you owe me like 5.
3.
So anyway,
real quick, can we
got a bet? We got a bet.
Yeah, that was great. That was great, guys.
67.50.
Can we do Salesforce? Just look at Salesforce real fast, Joel.
Salesforce.
Yeah,
earnings after trading not down at all. So again, looking under the hood, showing strength. We know, and I actually was long in this, but I've sold it here in the pre-market because the S&P futures and the Qs were down a lot more in this. So just from a relative strength perspective, typically I buy stocks before they report and sell them right before they report. So I don't want to hold it through the report, but typically the day or two before they report, they show relative strength. CRM was with that market helping it yesterday. Yeah. It's trading basically just only down 30 cents here this morning, so holding up relatively well.
Major resistance in 133 area. I see like 2-3 highs in that area. If you're looking for follow through, got to get through 26.95. That was yesterday's high. Tight range, really tight ranges over the last 2 days. So look for that. Maybe a little bit more consolidation here. So, all right, minute over here, Spencer.
Yep.
You want to wrap things up and
Sure.
tomorrow?
Yeah, on tomorrow's show, it's a volatile market. It can be a little scary, a little stressful. Sometimes it's fun to laugh. So, in the theme of that, we got Bill Santiago on our show tomorrow. He is a trader by day and a comedian by night, or is it comedian by day, trader by night? I don't know. One of those two. But he'll be on the show tomorrow to hopefully make us laugh about the markets here a little bit. If you missed any part of today's show, catch our podcast. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google Play, or just rewatch the show with the charts on YouTube. YouTube.com/Benzinga TV. Thanks to our guest, Nick Chahine. Thanks to all of you in our chat rooms. Please remember all the information and content from our show is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investing advice. And Joel's going to leave us with the last word.
I've been talking with Bill and emailing and stuff, and I think he's going to do a little routine on all the different trading terms that we use on the show. So this could be one for the ages with Bill Santiago. It should be fun. Okay.
All righty. Well,
it's already got me laughing. I haven't heard anything.
All right.
Yet.
Well, on that note, I hope everyone has a good day, and we'll see you Wednesday.